Hi everyone, Chanel here from Elastic Path, and welcome to our Composable Commerce Mini-Series, where I'll be introducing you to the only commerce framework for digitally driven brands, Composable Commerce. So I want to start off by just talking about change. The world has changed, it is changing, and it will continue to change. We say the only thing constant is change, yet some of us still insist on doing things the old way. Why is that? I guess it can seem more comfortable or a little bit safer. I completely understand. However, imagine if we still had to depend on mail to hear from a loved one, or we had to rely on horses for getting around. We have continuously chosen the tools for the times that we live in, and the same must go for your digital commerce strategy. But many of our brands still are stuck with traditional e-commerce platforms that were not built for the ever-evolving world that we live in today. Don't get me wrong, traditional e-commerce has had a great run. We were able to bring physical shopping experiences to the comfort of our consumers' homes. But if we're being real, gone are the days where we dictate what consumers want out of a digital shopping experience. They want new applications, and so we build them. They want unique experiences like augmented reality, and they want personalization. And while it may feel a little bit daunting to keep up with the ever-changing consumer, digital is your secret weapon. Because digital is no longer just a channel. It should be a key tenet of your digital commerce strategy, so you can continuously keep up with consumers and continuously outpace competitors. And so you must choose traditional e-commerce platforms or composable commerce enterprises. But trust me when I say traditional commerce platforms simply won't allow you to adopt and continuously optimize your digital commerce strategy. It's time for a new approach that will allow you to adopt for these changing times now, but also into the future. It's time for a composable commerce approach. So this is going to allow you to build fast, continuously optimize at speed, and create differentiated commerce experiences that leave long-lasting impressions with your customers. And so in this series, you'll be learning about how composable commerce is used to reduce your total cost of ownership, how brands have adopted the approach and are using it to drive their growth, and how to actually physically implement it in a few short demos. But before we jump into all of that, I want to give you a quick rundown as to what composable commerce is and what it means for your business. So composable commerce is a modern approach by which e-commerce teams are empowered to select and assemble from various best-of-breed commerce solutions and compose them to satisfy their unique business requirements. And these are all made possible by the 4 tenets, which I mentioned before. It's modularity, it's openness, it's flexibility, and it's business centricity. So the first tenet is composable commerce is modular. This is going to be great for putting elements together. But I can't stress this enough. You need the appropriate level of granularity to be able to create, iterate, and adjust experiences at speed. Because on one hand, we have the traditional monolithic platforms. They're rigid, and it makes it difficult to make changes easily. The coupled architecture makes it difficult to make alterations, and so it's slow and it's time consuming. But on the other hand, we have other microservices solutions that are too granular, and so it increases the complexity and also increases the time and the cost for getting your commerce solution up and ready. And then so you have to find that middle ground, and that middle ground is package business capabilities. This is the appropriate granularity that brings together the iterative process that allows you to continuously optimize at speed. The next tenet, composable commerce, is open. It provides an open ecosystem comprised of enablers and expert support teams to help you to minimize the learning curve. It also has open standards to make integrations easier and prevent vendor lock-ins, and also a solid extensibility framework so that developers can quickly add capabilities on both the front end and the back end. And thirdly, composable commerce is flexible. It leverages some of the most modern technologies, such as microservices, an API first approach, cloud native solutions, one of the big ones, headless commerce, and Jamstack. And it uses all of that to build these complex experiences, but simply. And lastly, Composable Commerce is business centric. It provides you that support to be able to react to business objectives and market demands efficiently with the use of business user tooling and also a middle ground that facilitates business IT collaboration. Now, this is euphoria because now marketing teams will have that control to be able to make changes, but also keep those complex business requirements delivered through their digital commerce strategy. With all that in mind, it's important to note that many composable enterprises offer one or two of these tenets, but to truly realize the full benefits of composable commerce, you will need all four, and Elastic Path offers all four. Well, you don't have to take our word for it. Many digital innovators like Pella embraced composable commerce early to accelerate their growth. Rebecca Hicks, Senior Manager of Digital Experience from Pella, has joined us today. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us. This is exciting to talk about.
Yeah, so we just want to give our viewers a little bit of insight as to why composable commerce and why Elastic Path. So to give us a better understanding, let's start by answering a few questions. Tell us a little bit about the business model for Pella. What do you offer?
Absolutely. Pella is a national window and door company. So ultimately, we sell windows and doors to customers across the nation. However, Windows is a complex product. So traditionally, you've always worked with that PDSN or that sales rep. We also sell within a variety of different distribution networks. However, building an e-commerce and building that catalog online allows us to help drive that self-education with the customer from a self perspective.
That makes sense. The technical vision for Pella, and what were you trying to bring to life that led you to Elastic Path?
Really, if you take a step back from a strategic standpoint, Pella was looking at how we can continually evolve our purchase cycles and understand where we can meet customer expectations by building an e-commerce. From an Elastic Path perspective, they had a great innovation roadmap. They had a roadmap that they wanted to partner with us on. They wanted to show experiences with us on. They believed in what we were trying to attain just as much as we believed in what we were trying to do. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we wanted a partner that was just as excited and as passionate with us, but it came from a technology first place.
Got it. So you mentioned that there was a few things that you were trying to attain. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? What were you trying to build? Were there specific channels, different types of customer experiences that you were trying to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the end of the day, it's again about meeting the customer and that demand, right? We know, especially given COVID, that more and more customers are willing to make higher consideration purchases online. So how do we show up, not only from a direct purchase perspective, but also from an education perspective? What other pieces of content need to be out there? How are they expecting to visualize that content, immerse and educate that content? So again, it was about meeting that customer demand and how we can simplify that purchase journey for the customer.
So you mentioned that the product is a bit complex. So there are different models that you were trying to achieve, B2B, B2C. Tell us a little bit more about those business models.
Absolutely. You're right. The product is complex. And the B2B audience knows a lot more about that. But we had the opportunity to create that self-education for both B2B and B2C. What makes sense within that world? What are those expectations? How is the customer looking to compare products? What's important from B2B versus B2C? Ultimately, Elastic Path gave us that opportunity that we didn't have to load a SKU-based catalog, but we could bring this complexity through a configuration. We didn't want to limit what we were showing to the customer because we have a breadth of assortment. Leveraging that configuration ultimately is complex. But we did it in a way, we partnered with Elastic Path in a way that we were breaking down barriers and building new requirements from a technology perspective.
So now that Elastic Path has alleviated a lot of the complexity, What were your challenges before? What were you facing with using other monolithic platforms that you mentioned before?
At the end of the day, it's speed.
Okay.
Digital is a game of speed. You want to be supported, you want to be risk averse, and you want to be able to make change quickly. The win with Elastic Path is that we can act with speed. The partners are great. You get questions and answers from a support perspective almost instantaneously. We needed to leverage a partner that was simple while having the opportunity to be complex because we were so complex. They ultimately balanced out our complexity through simple solutions.
That's music to my ears, really. Um, One of the things that we talk about a lot is speed and the fact that you can innovate with speed, which is very rare. So, are there different types of innovative things that were important to try for your company that you weren't able to do before?
We're still really early on in our journey and understanding what's available and what's the option. But we didn't want to be tied down or put into a box. We wanted to be able to expand when we needed to expand. Partnering with Elastic Path allowed us to be able to pull different levers when we needed to. Again, we're still very early in the journey and understanding what we can do, but knowing that we have the support and the ability to pull those levers and influence that roadmap makes us feel like we're in the right spot.
So, choosing an e commerce platform can be a very daunting decision, especially with many different vendors on the market. How did you essentially end up choosing Elastic Path?
It's a great question. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the team did a lot of research, and Elastic Path came with glowing recommendations from a Magic Quadrant with Gartner. Again, it hit that simplicity and that short implementation and allowed us to innovate, but it's great when you have a great backing from a Gartner as well.
Yeah, it's super important that people spend the time to research the best e commerce platform for their business. And I'm so happy that you were able to align with your business requirements with our offering. So, thank you so much, Rebecca, for joining us. This was truly insightful, and I'm sure it will be very helpful for a lot of our viewers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining me today. Stay tuned for our next series, which will discuss how composable commerce reduces your total cost of ownership. You don't want to miss it.